senior living communities around the country. But I think this will lead to a broader discussion on falls and balance and safety and what have you. But let me welcome our panel members to the stage here. And we've got them here, Colin and Michelle. Really charged up to have y'all today. And just so folks, how this came about was we're going to learn a little bit more about this product that Colin has invented that is being utilized in senior living communities. But when I saw this on whether it be LinkedIn or one of the communities that we work with may have been featuring it, I was like, wow, that's a brilliant design that looks really interesting, and I want to learn more about this. So before we dive into that, Colin, tell us a little bit about your story, and then we'll meet Michelle, who is with a retirement community company that's actually utilizing the product that you invented.
Nice to see everybody. Steve, thanks for having me. Just real quick, I am a doctor of physical therapy. I've been a clinician for about 24 years, and my focus has been older adults. I've always been fascinated by the extensive capabilities of older adults, no matter the age. It just takes some prodding, takes some work, takes some effort and some caring on our part. So both clinically and what you're going to see a little bit today is what I invented to try to help them get up, because we know the perils of what can happen if they don't. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, but I really appreciate, Steve, you having me, and Michelle. I really appreciate your participation as well.
I love it. Now, and Michelle, you're with an organization called Touchmark, and I'll pull up your website here, but tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the business of senior living.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a short/long story, but I never thought I'd work in long-term care. My background is exercise science and business, and that's what I graduated with, and started doing corporate wellness at Boeing, and then transitioned to open a wellness center at OHSU, which is the Oregon Health and Science University here in Portland. Thought I'd probably retire there, and got this opportunity and saw there was a job open at Touchmark that was primarily focused on fitness at the time. And long story short, ended up at our central office, and I get to oversee fitness and life enrichment for our company. And one of our clubs actually already had Colin's product when I started at our central office. And that was kind of where it started. And then it just spurred me to get them into all of our communities, because it's just been such a lifesaver and made a pretty huge impact for our communities.
Great. Wow. And just for folks to be familiar, and I'll drop this link into chat, but looks like Touchmark, y'all are primarily west of the Mississippi here, and based in Oregon, but you've got quite a few communities. What's the total number on the communities that you all manage and operate?
Yeah, we have 15. So 15, including one in Canada. So our most recent one that we opened is down in McKinney, Texas. So we actually were lucky enough to get S3s ordered in that community before they even opened. So we're hitting the ground running there. But yeah, just been a really great opportunity to work with Colin. And one thing I love about our company is we actually have separate staff that run all of the health and fitness programming versus the activities and events. So we put a pretty big investment into making sure that our residents can stay active and healthy and maintain their lean mass and all of the things that hopefully help them from falling. But those that still have some decline, we've been able to plug this in and really see a huge difference in the amount of falls that we're having. So,
well, I know Colin's product is pretty innovative, but the fact that your activity and fitness staff are independent but working together is pretty innovative as well. That's definitely a good move.
Yeah, it's great to have just that many more people kind of in front of this topic and making sure that we're, on the healthcare side, of course, we're looking at their homes and making sure they're clutter free and don't have, thick rugs they're going to trip on and, all the basic stuff. But this is kind of the next level of trying to get them before they fall instead of sending them out to the hospital. So
I love
Yeah,
it.
a great thing.
Well, let's kind of dive into the topic of falls and Colin's product, the S3. I've got the website here. And I get, folks, you can hopefully see this pre-reel video here of this product, which looks incredibly stable. It kind of speaks for itself in terms of how safe it is for somebody to do exercise, and you can see that it's easy to transfer, not only for exercise but for transfers there. But I'm curious, Colin, like as somebody who's got a patent and has created an invention as well, tell me a little bit about the process of what led to you creating this, and then I'm always interested in the inside baseball, the prototyping that you had to do to get to your finished product.
The process sucked. I will not mince words. It was actually invented it in grad school. But can I just say I don't want this to be really an infomercial about S3. And I'll just say about the development, the one that you're looking at, it's the 9th iteration. If you want to invent something, so let's say you have an idea in your head about something that you're like, I think this could really help people or something, it takes just a dedication to the end result. Keep envisioning, what do you see it finally doing? And that will keep you going. It took me 18 years to go through the 8 iterations to get to the 9th one of testing. I didn't have a lot of money in graduate school. That's one of the reasons it took me 18 years. I didn't have the funding to actually do it. But the thing that I really want to stress today is you can do all the brain activity you want. You can do all the chair activity you want. And you don't have to have S3 necessarily to get people up. But if you don't get people up, that is the same thing or worse as telling older folks to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. That's the thing that I want to really stress here, is that I'm going to share my screen and just to give you an idea as to what I'm talking about, because these, if you don't allow people and motivate them to get up, this is not an all-encompassing list, but the brain, its functionality, its ability to send signals across the brain, that goes down. Your heart goes without saying, increases the risk of heart disease dramatically. Your muscles, because you're not getting up, your muscles will atrophy beyond what they ever would otherwise. And your kidney function will go down. You'll be more bloated, so your gastrointestinal system will cease to function normally. Your risk of COPD with the lungs dramatically increases. If you already have COPD, it gets worse. And like we saw with COVID, your immune system will dramatically reduce. And think about, look at all the things that this leads to. This is just from sitting too much. Dramatically increases. This isn't like people who are taking certain kind of medication. This is literally keeping people in a chair most of the day. They're going to take more drugs. They're going to have more anxiety. Their chronic pain is going to go up. The risk of displacement, which Michelle, you know all too much about, dramatically goes up. You tend to lose them. They have to have higher care. They will most likely die early. They will become more disabled. They'll lose their independence to illness, and of course, falls. So all of these things lead to things that I know that people don't want, but it's like, as an industry, we seem to be way too complacent with letting people sit most of the day. And then the idea for activity becomes chair activity, which unfortunately doesn't just not reduce falls, but it doesn't really have the impact that you're looking for on all these other factors as well.
Yeah, and really that speaks to why I was intrigued by your product when I saw it, because it's a catch-22. This is like, our business as progressive as providers like Michelle are out there, we're risk averse, you know, and it's sort of like we need to be exercising, but the risk of exercise is a fall. And so if we can't protect people from that fall, as much as we want them to exercise, it's sort of like, okay, let's keep things safe. Let's balance that risk. And that's what I loved about what you created, because it's very clear that this is a product that everybody can exercise on, regardless of whether you're an older adult or not. I could see having a lot of fun on that product too.
Well, but the thing that as a culture, just senior living, which Michelle has shown, it's not just because they use S3. She had, and Michelle, to your credit and your staff's credit, they invest, they put their money where their mouth is, whereas they really promote not just exercise, but safe exercise. And the cop out that I hear most often from senior living is, well, we either don't have the funds, we don't have the staff, or it's just safer to keep them in a chair. Those three things I tend to hear, and that is poison. Those three things together give the older adults living there no shot. They don't have any chance of aging gracefully. They just don't. I mean, I just showed you the systems that the body system, just from a medical standpoint, what the consequences can be. And I want to stress, you don't have to have S3 to do this. You do not have to have it. If you have the staff and the motivation to get people up regularly every single day, then you don't need to have S3. It's just, as Michelle, I think you'll agree that that's kind of cost prohibitive, and the stress on staff is prohibitive, because when you have people on walkers and in scooters, getting them up is extremely taxing, which speaks to why caregiver turnover is what it is. It's because they're doing basically manual labor all day. That's not sustainable. We can't, that doesn't work. It's been proven to not work over and over again.
I think what I really love about it too is that, kind of, Steve, you alluded to this, it crosses all of our service levels. So we've got highly independent people that can, do exercise with our staff that have degrees in exercise science. And even they can find that wobble and find that, the work that they're doing on their balance from a super high functioning person. And then, like we've talked about, in assisted living and of course memory care. But to catch them early, and I think we saw a lot of this with COVID, is there was a lot of isolation, tons of decline, and you don't want to bring up the C word anymore because we're way past that, but it just was really remarkable to me, coming out of that, the decline that there really was, and it was because they were in their homes sitting all the time, and independent living even. So it's just been amazing to be able to utilize it with pretty much anyone and show the benefit. And for our team, we have a whole health and fitness club and teams that are trying to build revenue, so we actually can charge to do these one-on-one sessions and actually push the envelope a little bit more than we would in a group setting. So it's so versatile. You can do groups with it, you can have residents lead it, but you can also have an exercise professional that can take it to the next level and add some strength training, add pieces that maybe your general resident wouldn't know how to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of like when you say one-on-one, I mean, when I saw this product, it looks like something that you see in every physical therapy office. Like there's products like this, or there's bars or things like that. The whole concept that you could have this product that could be in a group exercise activity, and then it's easily rolled down and it could be a one-on-one is pretty cool. Okay, so let's see. Shalala wanted the website, and I dropped that in there. And so tell us a little bit about how this works with. And again, I appreciate Colin, not wanting to make this a commercial, but I'm intrigued by your product, because I think it's what I'm into promoting is innovative thinking in the senior living space. And this represents that. It represents it in creating a product, but probably the most innovative thinker are your customers that are willing to sort of take a chance and blend this into their platform and be pioneering in their thought. But so give us a little bit of an idea of how you all, and maybe Michelle, you're the best one to talk about this, is that what does a product look like this in your all's community, and the ways that it can help your residents?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't mind, I'll just share kind of the flyer and
Oh, that would be great.
pieces that that we came up with. So this is the flyer that we use at Touchmark, and it basically just kind of is a tool for us. We start this early on in the sales process. If someone comes in, they want a tour, could be IL, could be AL, could be memory care, assisted living. And we give this to the families because a lot of times residents won't always think that they need something, or maybe they put a sticker on it like, okay, well, that's just for those people that live on the other side. Or the independent people are like, nope, I'm fine. I don't have any issues. And so a lot of times personal training is what we're talking about to kind of maintain their muscle mass so that they can enjoy life and stay independent. But it's crazy. There's always a stigma with personal training too, right? Like that's scary. It's too hard. I'm 80. I'm not going to do burpees. Not that we would ever have them do that, but that's kind of what they're thinking we're selling. And to transition to this, we just find that it's been such an easy sales process because the families want their mom and dad to stay independent. If you talk to a resident about, well, have you ever thought about, do you think that you have a fear of falling, or do you worry about it? Do you worry about, breaking something if you do fall? And kind of coming at it from that safety perspective, and that we can show improvement. We give this to the families, and then I'll just kind of show a couple of testimonials. So just really quick, this one we're doing classes. She's been doing them for quite some time, went to Slovenia in Croatia, and she was the oldest person on the trip at 85, and there was 3 other ladies, and they all fell during the trip, and she did not. And so she, kind of a testament to, you can do great things, uneven surfaces, go hiking, and now she's able to do those things and actually not be scared to do them. And again, there's another one just from one of our care aides that actually had her husband in the community and was doing that. And he, was shuffling before. And now that he's been doing work on the S3 with our team, isn't shuffling, is more confident. And so it just kind of goes to show it's not just about, trying to promote exercise and standing and maybe the S3. But when they commit to it and they do it, it actually just gives them so much confidence and independence. And that's really what we want, right? Like we want our family members and ourselves to be able to age gracefully and be fully independent and not feel like we're relying on other folks to keep us from falling. And on the flip side with our team, we can push them a little bit harder versus getting them up out of a chair, standing next to them. And if they do start to topple over, now we're at risk to maybe be underneath them when we hit the floor. So the safety side has been super huge also.
Yeah, as I was looking at the image that you shared there, right there, I'm reminded that when I go to a yoga class, okay, I have a really difficult bouncing on my left leg. And what does the yoga teacher tell you? It says, you can stable yourself on a wall, and that's why this product is just so innovative. I wish that I could have one of these in the next yoga class that I'm taking, because I need a little bit of extra support when I'm doing any kind of balance thing on my left leg. Cool. Now,
just from an exercise perspective, you just hit the nail on the head with how balance is improved. And let me just ask everybody this: can balance improve if you're not challenged? I mean, what do you think? So if you have, go ahead and stand up right now, you stand up, go ahead and stand up, and then put your feet all the way together, and then answer this question: do you feel like you're challenged? And if the answer is no, that means that your balance, it can't improve because it has to be challenged. That's have a reason to improve. Now go ahead with your feet together. Now go ahead and close your eyes. Now answer the question: is this difficult? So on a scale of 0 to 10, do you feel like it's pretty hard, meaning a 5 or a 6? If the answer is yes, that means there are balance systems, because there are 4, right? There are balance systems that are improving. You're actually in real time, you're getting your balance to improve. So the premise of any balance program, whether it's S3, the Otago, or any program, the premise has to be, how am I going to safely challenge residents' balance? How am I going to do that? And using a chair, not only it doesn't work with a chair, but it's also a liability for places, because there isn't a chair that's been invented that with a disclaimer says, yeah, you can also use this as balance training exercise equipment. So that's why I use S3, but I want to come back to, if you don't have the funds, if it's not in your budget, then this is what I suggest. And I'm going to share my screen again. This is really what we're talking about here when it comes to balance training. That this woman here, you can see her now, she is using S3, but you can see, if you just have your hands out, like, out forward, you see how she's unstable. She's in a tandem position here, but she's self-spotting, and you can use that with staff as well. So your arms are out, and see how she's spotting. But if I was to ask her, how hard do you feel like you're working? She's going to say, oh, this is hard. On a scale of 0 to 10, it's 7 or 8. She's being challenged. Same thing with this group. So this is a group here. This is actually assisted living. This is a group. They didn't have much space, so they put the devices in a circle. But this woman here, this resident, she's leading the class, and she's asking them, how hard, Larry, how hard do you feel like you're working? And the question is, well, is this safe? And the answer is yes. The reason why this is safe, because I get asked that a lot by clinicians, et cetera. Well, how can that be considered safe when they're wobbling? And here's why. It's because you're using the same technology as a walker. If you're okay with people using a walker, they have their hands in front of them, they have the contact with the ground, so their brain is oriented from their hands to the ground. That's why walkers work, because they have that orientation to the ground. That's why S3 works, because and it's much safer than a walker, obviously. So if you're safe with a walker, if you're okay with a walker, you should be okay with S3, is that you have that contact on each side of the body to help protect against a fall. So now the thing you do need to remember is you need to have a chair behind the device, because people, when you challenge their balance, they haven't done this stuff in a long time, if ever, right? So they're going to get tired. They're going to get tired quickly. So you have a chair there. But what's truly remarkable to me is what happens when you actually do this over a short amount of time. Because I get asked too, well, what data do you have? Steve, is it okay if I share the data now?
Oh, no, I'd love that if you do that. Absolutely.
So the data on this, and remember, I want to stress again, you do not have to have S3 to get these kind of results. You don't. The first study we did was in 2018, and it was for 6 months. These are the communities that participated. We had almost 100 participants, but it was across assisted living and memory care. So we looked at 97 participants. The FRT, that's functional reach test. So we tested, which tests their risk of falling. And you can look at the range. And this is one thing that's striking, is that on day 1, we took their functional reach test, which is how far they can reach. It's a valid and reliable test, very highly supported by research, but it tests how far you can reach without moving your feet. And look at the range. We had one resident that almost 2,000% reduced her fall risk, because she literally couldn't even move forward at all. But the overall mean change is about 2-fold. So there's about 2-fold change in their fall risk, which is really high. Then we did another one that just looked at fall data. So we looked at the number of falls over the course of 2 months at these communities. This was Silver Creek. They had eight residents who were falling about 17 to 18 times per month. And then after 60 days, those same 18 residents were falling about 5 times a month. The change was about 4-fold. And then at Village at Kaiser Ridge, bear in mind, this was when COVID was winding down, but they had some deaths at this community. So we weren't able to capture as much data, but on the ones that we did, these two people, the other two were discharged because they just went to independent living because they improved so much. This gentleman, Mike, was falling 8 to 12 times a month. And then at the end, he was falling 1 time a month. And then Washington Gardens, which is memory care, you can see the data there, 19 falls for 2 months, and then they were falling 4 times during the trial. So I want to stress that it's not necessarily the device. The device makes it convenient and makes it so you don't even have to have staff because they can do programming online. But it's the fact that they're up and their balance is being challenged. That's it.
And that's like what I love about the data that you just shared is the problem is that people are falling, okay? But the solution is minimize risk. Let's not let them fall again, instead of let's exercise, let's improve our strength, let's do these things, but we need to do them safely. And I think your invention represents one solution. As you said, it's not the solution, it's just one solution. The other interesting thing, this came up actually at an event I was moderating last week, is on falls, is that there is a group in Northern Virginia that does parkour for older adults. Like the acrobatic stuff where you're out on park benches and in natural environment. And the premise of parkour is the first thing that you learn, whether you're going to be, a stuntman, an athlete, or a 95-year-old going into this program, is what do you do when you fall down? How do you fall and how do you get back up when you fall? And I think it's something else that sort of speaks to our risk for exercising with older adults is that it's sort of like we're trying to do everything we can to avoid a fall and not build our strength to prevent it that way.
The other side I was going to say that we haven't really touched on is just time savings for your staff. I mean, when you look at the number of falls that we saw in the data, our health services teams, our nurses, our admins have to do a lot of paperwork every time someone falls. And whether that's throughout the hospital and then there's all the doctor's orders. And I mean, the amount of time just for our team to spend on each and every one of these falls is a lot. And so that to me also for Touchmark was a big piece of, why we got behind this, because it's not, yes, it is, primarily for the resident. We want them to be independent. And, we've had many people that were using walkers and independent that now aren't. And how great is that for them and their family to see them be more independent? And then, you as a child is less worried about your mom or dad. But our team on the admin side is like, heck yes. Like if we can reduce any of those falls, that gives me hours back to my week, maybe even day. And we hear that every day when we do stand-ups. It's like, oh, we had a fall in AL, we had a fall in memory care. So the more we can reduce that, it just, twofold, not only for the resident, but just such a time saver for our teams to not have to be so wrapped up in paperwork that we can then spend more time with the residents.
And the primary target for S3 are lower functioning people that are heading the wrong direction. So I want to, if I may, I'd like to show the program that we used that gave us that data so that if you don't have S3 today, then you can still do that. You can actually do the program today. You'll just need staff willing to spend the time. So here's the program. It looks like this. The first movement is, here, I'm going to share this so you can see it better. It's just feet together, really complex, right? But the person will hold their hands out like this, just like the device, right? The feet are as together as you can get them. They may not, for a lot of these low functioning people, they may not be all the way together, but get them as close as they can. And then I want to stress this to be safe, right? They need to progress slowly. So when they're standing there and they close their eyes, you have your arms out and you ask them, is this hard? And if they say no, what you need to ask them then is just say, okay, grab my hand, grab my arms less. So you're going to kind of open up your fingers, but they need to do that slowly. And then once their fingers are open and you ask them, is it hard now? And if they say no, then you need to progress to floating. And they need to do that very slowly. I've seen it where people just lift up suddenly, and that's too much for the brain and the muscles to tolerate. And they really lose their balance and their fear overcomes them. So just, it's a gentle, it's a slow move. But then what will happen, what you'll start to see is with consistent challenge, that will get easier and easier. And then you can progress the next and make sure that they wobble. You're looking for them to actually be wobbling. If they're holding still, that's no good. That's not going to do it for most people. The next one is heel toe. So like you're on doing a high wire act. And again, you're looking for the wobble. Okay. Same principle. Open the fingers, float, close the eyes. And if that's still too easy, you can have them tilt their head back, but that's for low functioning people, that's rare. And then the pure strength move is the squat. And look at the range of motion that Anne is in. That's as deep as you're going to have them go. Most lower functioning residents cannot get here. Just make sure that their hips go back, that their knees don't go forward. That puts a lot of stress on the knee joint itself. And then the leg up, you can use a chair for this, or you can even just use a small little, like a little box or something where they put their foot up and the knee is bent. This is high level where Anne is keeping her legs straight. You can do it with the knee bent. And again, you're looking for the wobble. And then the last thing is a big step. And what we tell people here is go back to the back, step away, and then step forward. And then just make sure that you're there to kind of catch them, not catch them, but make sure that they have your arms. And then they hold that position, and then you have them close their eyes, you go through the same thing. But the idea is that now you're able to challenge their balance safely. And then they can, what's the best part I think about this is that you can do it based on ability. So if they're really low functioning, that's great. They just progress slowly. And then that way they're able to progress at their own pace rather than have more imposed on in a group setting where they kind of feel badly if they're not able to keep up.
Yeah, no, I love it. And, those are over the years, training for various athletic events and you've used personal trainers. You can just see how that product is tailor-made. I bet you personal trainers and PT, when they see it, they're probably like, oh my God, this is could be great for all my clients. Now, Michelle, in your communities, is this used with like a set program, or do you kind of let your staff and team sort of get creative and use it however they like?
That's a great question. We started out more with a little bit of a structure, and it was definitely geared more towards classes. Those are still going in a lot of the communities, but what we found is really taken off is those one-on-ones. Just because it gives us the ability, and again, we do have, personal trainers that have degrees and certifications. So it's probably not going to be that if you've got just an activities person or event person that's leading these classes. But if you have someone that's got the knowledge, what we love about it, and you're right, all the trainers want more of these because they can safely get people working on balance. And the other piece we haven't touched on as much is muscle loss. And, sarcopenia is kind of a real thing with age-related muscle loss. And if we're not, again, taxing those muscles in the same way we're taxing our balance, we're going to lose muscle mass. And then we're not going to be able to stand up out of a chair or, at the base level, get off and on the toilet by ourselves. So what we love is that we can do the class structure, but then we really have promoted those one-on-ones so that we can actually meet them where they're at. There's a great strength kit that comes with the S3. Again, you can use different bands and, other materials as well. You don't have to have the S3, but, working on things like posture. So when you're doing those balance exercises, where are your shoulders at? What's your spine doing? So we've got the team that really loves to kind of dive a little deeper because we've got the expertise to work on those corrective exercises and posture and really get them independent. And then how much more we can challenge their balance because they're stronger. So yes, classes are kind of the first stop. And then we really try to get them doing one-on-ones with our team so they can just get that much more improvement.
And there's a Steve, there's a library. Yeah, because Michelle, I found, is the exception to the rule. Most, I mean, most places don't, unfortunately, don't have that level of expertise inherent in their staff. So, for those that don't, the library, this is all free. And again, if you don't have S3, it's fine. This will just give you the ideas. This is what we use a lot in physical therapy. Like what she said about posture. This is a great one for posture where you put the arms back and then you stand up tall and you lean forward, because none of your older adults have a posture problem, right? They all stand up really tall. And yeah. This is a stretch that I find is really helpful. A lot of the older adults have shoulder and neck pain and even back pain. The key to protect the shoulder, though, is you can see how she grabbed underhand. That's to prevent impingement at the shoulder. And then you'll hear residents say, "Oh, that feels so good." But so it's also for flexibility training. You can see all these different moves and you can put them together, or you can follow the classes that we have. But what Michelle was saying about the bands, and again, there's an optional strength kit that you can use. There are 5 hooks on the device. Again, you can turn this into a full gym. You just hook in, and then now you can do upper body. Like there's a row with this idiot showing how a row is done. And then this one is a really big one for hip abduction. So for people that have had hip replacements, and again, you don't have to have the strength kit. And even if you don't have S3, this is the proper way to do hip abduction, where you want to get the heel of the foot. See how I'm doing it in front? That's no good. So I'm going to put my foot in front of that so that now my heel is it's almost behind my hip, and then I go out to the side. And what you can do, you can double up now. So what I mean by that is you're doing strength and balance. So I'm doing hip abduction here, but let's say I want to incorporate more balance. I've got somebody that's really advanced. I can open my fingers, and then now I can make myself more unstable. That's going to use both hips more, the one that's standing on the ground and the one that's actually abducting. So the idea is to really foster a lot of creativity, whether the staff you have is, not necessarily degree like Michelle's staff, but even folks that don't have that background.
I love it. No, this has really been great. So many ideas, but I think the concept here is really innovation, and it's really just, here's the funny thing. The irony about this is that for we want to minimize risk so that our older adults and the people we're serving don't fall. But then as providers, we also want to minimize risk. And it's sort of like, wait a second, I don't need another product. I don't need another approach. We got it handled, with our chair yoga and this, that, and the other. And it's, we need innovation on both ends, in terms of taking that risk to exercise more, and taking that risk as providers to create new ways to enable our residents to live more purposeful lives. And I was just in a place frequented by a lot of cruise ships with tremendous cobblestones. I mean, like, it was hard for me to balance walking across this sort of Spanish plaza. And I was struck by, man, I wonder how many falls are here. So it was interesting when your resident cited, going through this program and then taking a trip.
Yeah. It's so great when, they can do stuff like that and not be leading the whole thing with fear of falling. Like, they'd probably get off the ship, look at that, and kind of freak out. And, for her to have that testimony, that's kind of what we're after, right? Is we just want to make those individual differences and make their life just more full. So
I love it.
very impactful.
I love it. Well, this has been a great conversation, and just folks that I've recorded this, I'll have links to both S3 and Touchmark's websites if you're interested, and contact information if you're interested in either one of our panel members today. But sort of any anything that either one of you didn't have an opportunity to share today that you'd like to share?
I mean, on my side, I would just say for all those activity professionals out there, if you don't have that specialty fitness staff, start with the top down. Just you got to get buy-in with your leadership. And once you have that, it's amazing how quickly things can trickle down and progress can be made. Because you do get a lot of pushback at that health services level of, oh, this is one more thing we're gonna have to worry about, promoting to families, or it's one more thing we're gonna have to. But if you can show them the numbers and show them the impact, not only on falls, but reducing the injuries to the caregivers, and then also the better quality of life and less work they're going to have to do with those residents, they start to kind of get on your side a little bit more. But it really does take kind of leadership. And I've been lucky enough to have, our CEO and president fully behind this. But just keep pushing, because it sure makes a huge difference. And it just brings all those teams together so much more. And really has your healthcare team loving your fitness and activities teams, and not just looking at them as, oh, well, you're just here to entertain our residents, but like, oh my gosh, get in here because we've got like 3 people falling. And just the dialogue changes, and it's so positive for everybody that I just would highly recommend giving it a try.
Oh, okay. And see, this is always whenever I say, hey, do you have any closing remarks? Then a bunch of questions come in. Well, first off, Ruth says this could be especially useful for those with low vision. I totally agree, Ruth. And as somebody who's legally blind in one eye, I know what it's like to have low vision, to have cataracts and this, that, and the other. And an exercise program, no matter how basic and easy, is intimidating. So have either one of you seen that some of your low vision residents are intrigued by this product?
Yeah, especially ones that have had a stroke, Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury. That's where it can be useful. But folks, and again, I'm a clinician, so I'm more than happy to consult with you. There's no charge for it. I'm happy if you want to send me, discuss with me what your program is now and how you can improve it, whether S3 is involved or not, it's fine. I'm more than happy to help you. And also, people do ask me for cost, like what the program costs. Most communities do a lease to own. So what they do is they pay $210, $215 a month, and then they own them after 36 months. So that's by far, and they get 5 devices for that. So it's a great way to kind of stick within a budget and make it so that you can at least get your signature program going now. You can start to plug the fall hole now. And that comes with support and onboarding. So you don't have a bunch of hidden fees with that. If you want the programming, it's $250 for the year for access to all the programming, which is just a plug and play. So it's designed to be affordable. But I'm more than happy to answer questions. You can email me about your program, whether it involves S3 or not. I don't care. I just want to help. So
cool. No, this is good. And yeah, I'm glad you brought up cost and gave sort of a brief overview of cost in a community setting. But actually, I got 2 questions here asking, can this equipment be purchased for use in a home? And what would that cost be?
Yes. So the answer is yes. And on the website on S3, there's a specific portal for that. To get one device, it's $14.95 plus shipping. And we've been able to keep the price down, even though our costs have gone way up. If you go to the website, it's really easy to get to that home because we have a lot of residents. That do use it in their apartments. If you go to train, you go to train and then go to home. There's a free class there. So let's say you order the device, order it for mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, whoever. It comes with full training here so they can see, well, why am I doing this? How do I do it? And there's a first class at home. So it actually, and it's just 10 minutes. Other awful things. But this is a great way for them to get their feet wet and get going with the program. So $14.95 for one device, and it's the same for 2. The price break happens when you order 2, 3 or 4.
Working capacity.
Okay.
It's time to take a stand.
And then let's see. Okay, and so it was $16.95. Does that include
No, $14.95.
$14.95? And I think
Slowing
your
down the
video is still
page
going.
Is normal, but it's not normal to fall
Colin.
on.
I think that's somebody else because mine's off.
I'm disabled.
Oh, you're
Just like
right.
it's not
No,
normal.
I went to the page. Sorry. I went to the page at the same time as you did. Okay. Okay. And then how portable is the S3 due to its size and accessible in an average indoor-outdoor setting?
Yeah, so they are meant for indoor because rusting can become an issue, but they are transported a lot going indoor to outdoor, but they're stored indoor. From the standpoint of size, they are a little bit bigger than a walker. If you go to the website, you can see how it is. Here, I'll show you. There's actually a resident, to give you an idea, there's an 80-year-old man moving the device. It's easiest moved from the front. So if you tip and roll, this is the best way to move it. It's super easy, doesn't require much effort, 20 pounds to tip. And then if you have multiple devices, you can see how they stack together off to the side of the room when you're not using them.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like moving a spin bike, but it's probably
only a
a
lot
lot lighter
lighter
than that. Yeah.
A lot lighter. Yeah, it only weighs 57 pounds, the whole thing.
No, this is great. I really I commend both of you. I mean, for coming up with this pioneering invention, and Michelle, for your organization embracing something different and seeing the benefits, and I love how you talk about the adaptation from classes to one-on-one, and really utilizing this tool. I see real value in it, and I'm excited that we had today to talk about it. So, folks, I will follow up and get the recording up this afternoon. I'll put Colin and Michelle's contact on there, and keep in touch. Let us know as you know, do more research and find other ways that organizations are utilizing this product.
Will do.
All right. Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, and we'll see